Alright. I think we got everyone here. Everyone here who's going to be here. So, turn background music down. I hope everyone has had a fantastic day. We're going to jump right into things tonight. I want to let you guys know that today is, I want to say, week 5 on Facing the Giant Fear. And, we're going to change things up as we go. But today's been an interesting day, to say the least. So what I'd like to do is take a moment and just tell you today what's going on, what's happened, stuff like that. Really just kind of dial in on some things. And so, for those who are unaware, this past Saturday, one of my best friend's dads passed away. And it's been, it was sudden, but it was quick. There's been plenty of tears that have been shed. There's been plenty of mourning going on. And today was the funeral. As a friend, you know, there are times when you really don't know what to say, because you don't want to say the things like everything happens for a reason, because you might end up getting punched. You never want to be disrespectful or anything like that, but you always want to be able to stand in the comfort. And so, I want to talk about 2 things that we may have fear over today. And the first of which is standing in the awkwardness of anguish. See, when people go through things and stuff like that, you know, we get into a moment where we feel awkward to be there with someone who is going through a moment, or going through a situation that is just really tough. And we don't know how to be there for them. And for some of us, we may not be as emotional as somebody else, but we still want to be there for them. And so there have been multiple times where people, and I've talked with people, and you know, they're upset and they're struggling, and they're crying and they're bawling and they're really having this moment of brokenness. And it's so awkward for me to sit there in their anguish. I want to talk a little bit about that tonight. On top of that, I also want to talk about the fear of the unknown. What happens when everything goes, or when we eventually go at the end of our lives. How sometimes we just, everything gets kind of put to the test, and it's sometimes very challenging to think about. Sometimes it's very hard to think about. So what I want to do is, first off, talk about dealing with this fear. We wonder how we want to do it. We wonder how we want to step into being there for somebody. And I understand that stepping into someone else's emotions is not exactly the easiest thing to do. But what I want to do is let people know that when you step into someone else's anguish, when you step into someone else's sadness, you sitting there with them, I want you to understand how much that actually does for somebody, even if it's just a little bit. Because there is so much that people go through, so much that people endure when they lose a loved one. One of those things is having this feeling of, I am alone now. There's this empty void, there's this empty hole. And even if it's an awkward moment for you, I want to encourage you to still step into that situation. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 reads this. I want to make sure I'm getting my scriptures right here. Excuse me. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, "Therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing." Therefore build one another. Encourage one another and build one another up. The encouraging part is, to me, sitting there and letting someone know that you're sharing the grief with them. To encourage the mourning process, to encourage the grieving process, so that they find closure. And they find that it's not so much a lone thing, but then you help build them back up. You edify them. You help them become a beacon of what they went through. To edify someone, to build somebody up, isn't so much just saying the niceties or saying the things that everyone says at visitations, which is, let me know if you need something, I'll be there, but doing it with your actions, doing it with the way that you talk to people, the way that you handle people, and even more so with the way that you walk away from the situation. Because there's all going to be a moment when we find ourselves in the same situation, and we don't know when we're going to go. There's always a fear, which is why I encourage you to start now in building a legacy, building the memory of who you want to be, and who you want to be may be very different than who you were today. But that process can start right now. And all it takes is just a simple step in the right direction. Day after day, one step, one step, one step. It doesn't have to be big steps. It doesn't have to be gargantuan changes in your life, but just little things. So one day you may have a little more mercy towards someone who drastically annoys you. You may find a little more patience when someone cuts you off in the middle of traffic. And what you'll find is that as you start going through those steps, one by one, you're going to see the change in your life become the legacy that you leave behind. And I want you guys to understand is that it doesn't take someone to remember you for how great you were, because greatness is a worldly thing. It's not about how many things you've won, how competitive that you were. It's not about how amazing that you were when it came to this task or to this thing, how many trophies you have on a wall. I'm wearing an Alabama shirt. If you ever talk to an Alabama fan who's in love with college football, they'll tell you everything that they can tell you about the greatest coach of all time, Paul Bear Bryant. They'll tell you all the great things he did, that he was probably one of the best coaches in college football, one of the greatest to have ever lived. But even Bear Bryant, even Coach Paul Bear Bryant, had moments, especially when he was nearing the end of his life, where he regretted not being someone different. He regretted not having the opportunity to use the influence that he had to leave a better legacy. That's what I want to challenge you with. And I know this might be a little different than what we normally do, and this is going to be a very much shorter devotion. But I challenge you to think about the legacy that you would leave behind for someone else. At the end of your life, what would you want someone to say about you? That you were the greatest of this, or that you were a person who loved? that you might be a person who cared for them, that you were the person to go and fix everything that was going on. See, my best friend's dad was known for one thing, or at least for one thing. Probably the greatest thing is that he was always trying to help somebody fix a problem. He saw a problem and he fixed a problem. He saw a need and he filled the need. He saw hurt in someone's life and he stepped into it. He saw where someone could be loved and he did it. That was him. That was his legacy. That through his through being loved by Christ, he found a way to give that love to other people. That's a good legacy. And it's a noble. And I think that's something that we all should strive for. Something that we all should really think about when it comes to what message we want to send to our families, our kids, our friends, our brothers and our sisters. I mean, that is such a huge burden and a huge thing to think about, but you never know whose life you're going to be able to touch, whose life you have the ability to touch. And until you touch it, until you actually decide that you're going to reach out and be the change, be the force of good, you never know. But let me tell you something, the man that was buried today was a man who loved people. He was not afraid to know where he was going, because he knew. His faith was that I will show you my faith by the actions that I do. That is a verse from James. I will show you how much I love people. I will show you how much I care about people. I will show you my faith by the actions that I take. And I want to build up and encourage people, that I want to edify people, that he lived the verse from Thessalonians. He was always encouraging, and he always built people. That's just the man he was. He didn't care about fancy stuff. As a matter of fact, I was told specifically today when we came to the funeral that I was not to wear a fancy suit. I was to wear an Alabama shirt with blue jeans and tennis shoes. I could not come in a fancy way. And I think that's such an awesome thing. I think it really speaks to how humble this person was. And I think again, this is such a huge thing for us to understand, that when we worry about where we're going, about what's going to happen, about how it all works out in the end, I think it's important for us to focus now about the legacy that we're going to leave behind. That's not to bring everyone down, but in the spirit of Thanksgiving, it's a time for us to be thankful for what we do have, for the times that we do have with our friends and our families. It's time for us to be thankful for the blessings that we have been given. There's an old hymn that talks about count your many blessings and name them one by one. And by the end of counting them, or the middle of counting them, you're going to be amazed by what God has already done in your life. And I believe that to be such a powerful thing. Because if we sat down and we started naming up all the issues, our blessings would always overweigh. The quality of those blessings would always overweigh. So I challenge you this week, with Thanksgiving, all things around, when things aren't exactly working out the way they're supposed to, and you're sitting around the Thanksgiving table and someone's spouting out something you don't really care to listen to, or they're being rude or whatever, just go over some of the things that you're very thankful for. Because that's what this holiday is all about. To being thankful. Finding the thankful. Because being thankful sets us up in such a mindset that we are allowed to accept the grace from God. We are allowed to take the opportunities while we have the chance. And that's such a powerful thing. And honestly, I'm going to say it this way, we see our country today in the political divide that it's in. And everyone's talking about what's the right thing to do, what's the right thing to do. I think the right thing for us to do right now is to find peace. Find a way to be thankful, because There's going to be plenty of time for us to be angry at each other at the end of the day. But there's never enough time to find peace and love between our brothers and sisters. That's the challenge this week. Find something to be thankful for. Wear it. Let that thing hang around your neck. And so in those moments when you are heavy and burdened, you have something to praise. That's my devotion. That's all I ask. Heavenly Father God, I thank you for tonight. God, I thank you for all that you are doing, all that you have done, and all that you're going to do. God, you are worthy. You are mighty to be praised. Through the tough, through the thin, but in the good times as well. God, we praise you and we magnify you. Give us this day, God, just the sustenance we need to get through. Especially on the days when we don't seem to think we can. Protect us, O God. Cleanse us, O God. Let us come before you with clean hands and clean hearts. Let us leave with the heart that is for your people, and for a mind that is dwelling on your holy things. Protect us, O God, and deliver us from evil, God. Lead us not into temptation, but show us where you want us to go. Bring us through the wilderness, bring us through the valley of the shadow of death, and just stay with us. Your rod, your staff, they comfort. Psalms 43 says. And I ask that you just lift all those up who are in need. All those this week who may not understand what it means to be thankful, give them something to be thankful for. God, remind them of the reason of thanksgiving. So God, we praise you, we magnify you. All the glory belongs to you. Let your will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. For you, to you, is all the glory, power, and praise to be had. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. I hope you have a fantastic one. I love you all. Catch you next week, next Monday, same time, same place. Check her out.